What's up? This is Dominique Beaumonte, and you are listening to Season with Salt, the podcast. I never thought that I would be saying this with such delight and glee. 2020 is almost coming to an end. I mean, just a few hours and this year is over. And I just wanted to take some time to reflect on the year and my experiences and just talk about some of the things that I grew to love this year. And it was a difficult year, and I certainly don't want to dismiss the fact that many people struggled, whether it be with health or unemployment or finances or family. It was a year of unprecedented struggle, and this is a year that nobody could have planned for. It was a year that helped us to really define who we are as people, what it means, or better yet, what our definition is of family. Really to carve out for ourselves what it means to love the space that we have. There were just a lot of eye-opening, sort of things that happened this year. I want to rush to say that 2020 is going to go down in history as one of the most memorable years of my life. For me, I mean, aside from the fact that I turned 40 years old in the latter part of the year, October the 28th, it just was a year where I learned and I grew to love things that I hadn't loved before. One of those things was travel. Like, I just loved traveling, and I didn't really, I knew I loved traveling because I just would do it all the time, but I'm not certain if I knew the beauty of travel. In fact, the trip that really changed my life, and I kind of wanted to talk about some of these things in sequence, but I can't. But in June, usually I try to go to Seattle for my brother's birthday. I usually try to take a June trip to Seattle. I also have a nephew that has a birthday in June as well. And so this year I'm like, I'm going to go to Seattle. I think I went to Seattle on May 28th or something like that, shortly after Mother's Day, it had to be. And I was only intending to stay there for like a week or so, and that week kind of turned into a month. And the most amazing thing happened. I started to realize that all the years that I claimed to love Seattle, there were just places and things there that I had never done. It was beautiful to me to be able to discover all the parks there and all the bodies of water and just the natural. It was a life-changing experience for me because I realized that I just love the idea of wandering and experiencing things that I hadn't experienced before because I was so busy doing the things that I had to do. The other piece of it was that, in my adult life, especially in my adult life, I don't think that I have spent, that much dedicated time with my family, right? I live in California. My immediate family lives in Washington, and I see them, for holidays and stuff like that, but I hadn't really carved out a long period of time. So it was very interesting to kind of be with them, sleeping where they're sleeping, experiencing their lives from the perspective of just what it's like to live every day, with them. So that was just, I grew to love my family even more because, I got to be with them. I got to kind of get a taste of what it would be like if I lived there with them, which is kind of cool. So the family and the travel just kind of made the year like really amazing for me. And after I returned from Seattle from that trip, like I just had this strong desire to travel and to, I guess what it did was it opened my eyes to the fact that I have lived and been places and occupied spaces without really, really knowing like what was there. And I just, and so I started like getting rental cars and like checking out hotels that I wouldn't have been able to check out, you know, if I was busy. I started discovering just at random new cities that I had never gone to, cities that were more open than Sacramento, like beautiful cities like Menlo Park and Palo Alto and Walnut Creek and Santa Rosa, just places that, you know, I just would have never gone had I, you know, had I not, you know, taken the opportunity to kind of travel. And so I started a travel blog, which really is just a travel Instagram account, but it's been cool, like, documenting the places that I've gone and the experiences that I have had, and not feeling like I'm just taking a whole bunch of selfies or pictures of myself, but also like being a resource to people, number one, who want to travel, but number two, like people whose minds were closed to the opportunities that the outdoors provided. Because I think a lot of us are sort of like, well, we have to stay inside. And it's not so much that we had to stay inside, it's just that we had to stay away from people and we had to stay out of close quarters, but there's just so many beautiful things that are inside that we could experience. And so, I don't know, that was like pretty cool for me, just being able to, you know, experience life outside and discover things that I hadn't discovered before. I realized even the more that I really love shoes, and I guess I always knew that I love shoes, but like there's sometimes when I couldn't think of what to do, or if I think, let me put it this way, if I think about like what I have gathered and what I have collected and what I've invested in throughout the pandemic, like shoes are going to be on the top of that list. Aside from, I mean, I had a little bit of a series where I was like really into kitchen accessories, but I got over that. But I just really love shoes, and I've kind of the pandemic I don't have anywhere to wear most of these shoes, but I just kind of got this second wind when it comes to like being a shoe lover. Kind of like how, like, you know how like you love something when you're in your 20s, and then like when you kind of forget it, or it gets old, or maybe it becomes unaffordable or unreasonable, or your priorities shift. I think for me, like, my priorities shifted over the years. It might be because, you know, being in ministry, like a lot of what you have to be thinking about is what you wear to minister, right? And so our context is generally dress shoes and ties and suits. And so without the need for those in a virtual environment, like your priorities kind of reset. And so I was like resetting with like being a person that loves shoes, and like when the quarantine like really kind of lifted and people were feeling a little bit more free, like my angle was like, when am I going to be able to go to Nike? Like the Nike factory was like the place. That was like the measuring stick for like whether we were going back into a phase where things were normal, because I just really wanted to go and buy shoes. So love shoes, realized that this year. I don't know if I don't know how if this is interesting, but I don't know if this is about love or this is about passion. I think love and passion can be the same thing, but I also believe that sometimes passion is a burden, right? Like you don't always love that you have to walk in your passion; it's just natural. And I say that with regard to ministry because I love ministry and I love going to church and I love preaching and I love serving and I love doing those things. But what the pandemic taught me was more of I carried this burden or this necessity to like meet the needs, meet ministry needs, and create opportunities for worship and fellowship and prayer. And it's not that other people weren't doing that. I'm not saying that other people that I had to do it because nobody else was doing it, but I just felt God's call to. I felt that burden to create and to be relevant in the Christian experience of others, like through this very difficult time. And I thank God for that because I know that in this season there are a lot of people, especially those who operate in ministry, who were like, well, we're having virtual church, and so the stage is smaller, and nobody will see me, or nobody will honor what I do. There's not a lot that can be done now where people can see you visually, and I actually just realized that this is like the perfect season, right? Like, because you can do things and be a blessing to other people, and don't have to worry about people like trying to call you out or misunderstanding your intentions. And so this was just such a beautiful season to be able to serve the saints and the youth and the children. And I mean, there's some disappointing moments because there's some things that you want to do, but you can't do everything. But I thank God that in this season, like, that has been fulfillment for me. And even at times when I was like, I'm just going to take a break, I can't do this is too much, like, God would always find a way to encourage me. Like, there were just times when, I mean, people would just walk up to me and give me money or send me money in the mail, not to say, here's some money because to pay you, but as a way to invest in the work that I was doing. And I'm really grateful for that. I wasn't perfect in this particular area, right? There are some people that I could have ministered to better, right? There were some opportunities that I probably could have seized. But what I really learned is that ministry is not just about love and not just about passion, but it's about this carrying of a burden, and that you can't just put it down and pick it up when it's convenient. Like, it's just all the time. And one of the things that I knew right away is that I didn't want to regret, like, when this season of life, whenever it ends, I didn't want to feel like I let God down and I let the people down for whom God has assigned to me. And so it's an old responsibility, but it was a revived burden, and a burden in the sense that, like, there was times when I carried it with joy, and there are other times when I carried it, with hope, and with a lot of, having to encourage myself and to be encouraged by others. And I thank God that He chose me for this season. And it's not, that's just it. I just thank God that He chose me for this season, because there are others that He has chosen and they did not accept the call, or there are others that He has not chosen. It just wasn't their season to walk in. And so I'm honored more than anything. And so I've learned to love ministry in a different way, and I think that that is one of the more beautiful gifts. I talked a little bit earlier about family, and it's crazy because I think my little brothers are gonna kill me if they knew I was gonna. Well, I don't know if they see. That's why some people don't listen to your podcast and they be saying that they do. But anyway, I'll know because they're gonna repeat this. But both of my brothers are in love. Right, and so this is just a random thing, and I was just thinking about, like, I don't know if prior to this year they had really been in love, but both of them kind of have re-fallen in love, if you will, with either people that they've known from the past or people that they were with from the past or whatever, right? But in that, like as we are getting closer as a family, we become more intimately involved with each other's lives and kind of getting to know each other as adults. Like that's kind of been a blessing, and so I'm adding to my list of things that I've grown to love is this love of just brotherhood and like walking in adulthood. Me and my brothers are 6 and 8 years apart, and so there's naturally going to be things that I didn't experience with them. I think our situation, so the way that it centers, like you there's some our situation, our context in particular. There's some things that we couldn't have experienced together because we grew up in foster care, but I'm 6 and 8 years older than them. So some of the things that they had to experience at the end of their juvenile experience, I experienced at the beginning, and so it's just very interesting. But life is full circle, and God is like strengthening our relationships and our ability to talk about things that are adult like, but also to grow in our experience with each other. And so I'm thankful for that. Family, I don't know if I would have experienced so much peace and satisfaction this year without family. Like I have my cousins who I'm in even just in text message groups with that, you know, like help me to, you know, that bring laughter and joy to my life. Like being able to get on a phone call, on a Zoom call with grandma and family members on Sunday morning to talk about what we're going to eat and pray together is like gas for a pandemic, right? Like just it's what keeps you motivated, keeps you moving. It's something that not initially, like, you know, maybe it was for her, you know, maybe it was for grandma, like she's not able to go to church, church is her life, she's not able to see her family, and so we're going to give her this gift of like, for Mother's Day, we're going to connect with her on Zoom, and, you know, somebody's going to call her and we'll loop her in. And then it just turned to be something that was so powerful that it was a blessing to all of us, right? Like what we thought we were giving her, like ended up being a gift that God gave all of us. And so sometimes it's just listening and laughing and talking about the things that we have in common. Sometimes it's just talking about how differently we cook things or how we can't cook or what we're going to cook. And I just think that that's beautiful, right? And back to my brothers, like I just want to say that, well, I can't tell every, see, they would tell me I can't tell every story, but this Christmas, like, people are like, you should be staying home, it's a stay-at-home order, and I'm just like, forget that. I stayed home for Thanksgiving and tried to cook my own food and kind of braved my way through Thanksgiving, and I was like, there is just no way I'm going to be able to do that for Christmas. And so I took that trip and got on the plane and went home for Christmas, because I go home for every Christmas, and this year would have just been incredibly lonely and dissatisfying had I not gone. And so I'm like, forget that, I'm going. And it was just such a blessing. Like, even if it was, there were traditions that were upheld, there were traditions that, you know, were not upheld, but, you know, just the connectivity, whether it's on the WhatsApp or on a text message or on a group meet or on an email or on Zoom, the connectivity was really important. And the things that, there are some things that clearly a pandemic kills, right? But after, you know, months and months in this, like you realize, okay, it's a choice that I'm making. I can't let this season go by without doing certain things. I can't let this season steal from me like life and joy and peace and sanity, and so I have to do something. And so it's been a blessing to just see my friends and my family like taking up new ideas and you know, just trying to do new things. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that that's one of the gifts that 2020 has given us. Like, how can we do the things that we have to do, the things that we love, in different and more safe ways. And we have sort of really just perfected that in our lives. So there's that. A couple of years ago, some of you know I used to be the president of my fraternity chapter in Sacramento, and I was pretty active on a lot of different levels, and I love being a member of my fraternity. I really do. But one thing, as in anything, when you're in a leadership position, like, then people begin to see you just as a leader, right? They see you from a very administrative standpoint. And when you're in an organization that values like brotherhood or sisterhood or camaraderie, it becomes very difficult to feel included in that when you have an administrative or an executive or leadership role. And so since the time that I've not been working in those capacities, it's been extremely difficult. It's not difficult to get involved, but I realize, I've got to relive like some of the reasons that, some of the things that I love about my fraternity and the people in my fraternity. And it's really just about like re-understanding and relearning brotherhood and learning how to experience it in a different way. And there are some very consistent men in my life for which I'm thankful for, that have always demonstrated that brotherhood. Like, it's not necessarily that we always get along or we have everything in common or anything like that, but we're friends, right? We're friends first, and sometimes it's not really about like how often we see each other or how often we talk. Maybe we're just in the same WhatsApp together, or maybe when we need to talk, we know that we'll pick up the phone and talk to each other. Maybe it's just that we're going to reconnect around birthdays. Whatever it is, like knowing that those are people that I don't have to like put on the facade for, or be fake, or I might just need to call you and tell you all my business or tell you what I'm going through and then hang up, right? Just to be able to have those types of companions in your life, I think is really powerful. So I'm thankful for the experience of brotherhood from that standpoint as well. And so 2020, as daunting and negative and as scary as it's been, I too have had loved ones, both in my immediate family, who have contracted COVID and survived it. I've had very close people, like a godfather who passed away unexpectedly. There has definitely been death and risky health challenges, but I just thank God for bringing us through, right? And I think that there'll be opportunities to speak ill of 2020. There'll be opportunities to be negative about the things that we had to endure. But I just want to encourage everybody, every chance that you get, try to find the positive. And if nothing else, like the fact that we survived, the fact that we made it, the fact that God used us, the fact that we stayed employed, the fact that we didn't run out of money, we didn't lose our house, we didn't lose our car. And even if we did lose those things, the love that we have within our family didn't change. And we got to experience what it meant to be dependable on a different level, or to what it meant to both depend and be dependent upon. And so this year is just this beautiful, beautiful gift that maybe we don't unwrap and respect and honor right away because we're just ready to get out of it. But over time, we'll realize that if you're going to really experience the fullness of 2021, you needed 2020, right? Like, it took 2020 to make us who we are. And one of the things I've said today is that no year can scare me anymore. Like, nothing can scare me anymore. I know what it's like to risk my life because of social unrest and go out and protest because another black man or woman has been shot, even in the middle of a pandemic. I know what it's like to take a risk and go get on a plane to be with my family because I love them and miss them, even when it's not necessarily encouraged or brings risk to me and to the people that I'm meeting with. I know what it's like to have to find alternative ways to worship and to fellowship with my brother and sister. I know all the things that 2020 has taught me, and I would not have been able to really understand and know them had God not allowed me to experience this full year. And so that kind of makes me thankful. It brings a sense of gratitude to my life in a way that perhaps I would not have experienced. I don't know what this podcast would be about if 2020 had just been a normal year, right? Like maybe I would have gone on an exotic vacation, somewhere to celebrate my 40th birthday. But I didn't. I got to go to Seattle and celebrating with my loved ones because that's what made the most sense. I don't know. It's easy to say that 2020 robbed me of something, but rather than focusing on what it feels like it may have robbed me of, I'm sitting in a space of gratitude because I'm reflecting on all the things that it gave me. And one of the things that it gave me was this respect for life and this strong sense of gratitude for God and what He is able to do. And whether we want to admit it or not, we've experienced a year and can truly say that there's just really nothing impossible for God. And so we owe Him a debt of gratitude. We owe Him thanks and praise for what He has done. So anyway, y'all, 26 minutes plus of me just talking about my year. I'd love to hear about your year too, and hopefully you're taking the time to connect with other people to just sit in reflection and gratitude, so that as a result you can start the year off right? And just don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try to set goals. I looked at my goals from 2020 and just laughed. First of all, some of the stuff, I just couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to do whether it was a regular year or not. But I gained so much more from what I lost than what I thought I wanted to have. And that's a lesson and a blessing as well.
Season whistle, season whistle,